What if I told you there are farmers making more money on a quarter acre than most make on 50? Not with corn, not with soybeans, with plants selling for 40, 60, even thousands of dollars per pound. While industrial farms fight for razor-thin margins, there's a hidden market most growers never see. Chefs are desperate for supply, supplement companies can't source enough, and almost no one is paying attention. Today, I'm showing you 20 crops that flip traditional farming economics upside down. Number 1. Saffron, the world's most expensive spice. Here's something wild. Saffron sells for $1,500 to $5,000 per pound. Not a typo. Thousands. And the reason is simple, almost absurdly simple. Each flower produces only 3 tiny red stigmas. 3 threads. That's it. Those 3 threads are saffron. Now imagine this. To produce a single pound of dried saffron, you need roughly 70,000 flowers, 70,000 individual blooms, and every single one must be harvested by hand. Crocus sativus blooms in fall, when most gardens are winding down, when fields look tired, when farmers are finishing harvest. Then suddenly, for about 2 weeks, purple flowers blanket the soil. And during that narrow window, the work begins. You're in the field at dawn, because once the sun rises fully, the flowers open wide and the stigmas lose quality. So you harvest before that happens. Carefully, deliberately. Every flower is picked, every stigma separated by hand. Then dried properly, not overheated, not under-dried, because quality grading determines price. This is not mechanized agriculture. This is precision agriculture. And that labor intensity is exactly why saffron commands such absurd pricing. Now here's what most people misunderstand. Growing saffron isn't complicated. Plant the corms in well-drained soil, full sun exposure. Avoid waterlogging. That's it. They're winter hardy across many temperate zones. They actually require a cold dormancy period. The difficulty is not cultivation. The difficulty is timing and labor, but that labor translates directly to value. 1,000 square feet, less than the size of a modest backyard, can produce multiple ounces annually once mature. Even at conservative pricing, that's thousands of dollars from a space most people use for decorative landscaping. And here's where it gets interesting. Most saffron sold in the US is imported. It travels thousands of miles. It sits in warehouses. It loses potency. High-end chefs can tell the difference between fresh, locally dried saffron and something that's been sitting for 8 months. Color intensity, aroma strength, flavor depth. And chefs pay for that difference. The barrier to entry isn't land. It isn't massive equipment. It's patience. Newly planted corms take a season to establish before strong flowering begins. But once established, they multiply underground. Each year, your planting expands. Your production capacity increases without buying more seed. Your initial investment literally grows itself. Saffron proves something critical. Small land, managed intensely, can outperform acres of commodity grain. Number 2. Ginseng, the forest gold. American ginseng sells for $300 to $600 per pound of dried root. But the real story isn't just price, it's biology. Panax quinquefolius doesn't want sunlight. It doesn't want open fields. It wants shade. It thrives under hardwood forest canopy, particularly in rich, well-drained woodland soil, which means something powerful, land that produces nothing else. Steep hillsides, wooded acreage, shaded forest can become productive. Most crops demand full sun and tilled soil. Ginseng demands patience and forest ecology. The plant grows slowly. Year 1, a small 3-leaf plant. Year 2, slightly larger. Year 3, deeper roots forming. Year 5 to 7, harvestable maturity. That timeline scares almost everyone away, and that fear protects the price. Traditional Chinese medicine values American ginseng for energy, immune support, and overall vitality. It's considered cooling compared to Asian ginseng varieties. Demand from Asian markets remains consistent and strong, and buyers prefer older, larger roots. Why? Because age equals potency in perception, and often in chemical composition. Now here's the key detail most people skip. There are two ways to grow ginseng. Intensive cultivated beds. Faster, higher yield, lower price per pound. Or wild simulated forest growing. Slower, lower yield, higher price per pound, because roots resemble wild ginseng. Wild ginseng has been overharvested for decades. Cultivated supply fills that gap. The process itself is simple in concept. Plant seeds or rootlets in prepared forest beds. Ensure proper shade levels, usually 70 to 80%. Maintain good drainage. Control weeds minimally to preserve a natural environment. Then wait. There's no weekly harvest. No fast turnaround. You are planting for a 5-year horizon. But when harvest time comes, you're digging roots that can be worth hundreds per pound. And here's the deeper principle. Ginseng turns time into money. Patience becomes profit. Most agriculture demands annual returns. Ginseng rewards those willing to think in multi-year cycles. Number 3, wasabi, the impossible to find condiment. Real wasabi is almost mythical in the United States. That green paste at most sushi restaurants, it's horseradish dyed green. Actual wasabi, Wasabia japonica, sells for up to $200 per pound fresh, and sometimes more for premium grade. Why? Because it's one of the most difficult culinary plants to grow commercially. Wasabi demands very specific conditions. Cool temperatures, ideally between 46 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Constant moisture, but not waterlogged soil. Shade, but not deep darkness. And clean, flowing water. In Japan, it grows naturally along mountain stream beds. That's not a common agricultural setting. Replicating those conditions requires either natural stream access or carefully engineered greenhouse systems with circulating water channels. It's technically challenging, which is precisely why supply remains limited. And limited supply plus strong demand equals high price. High-end sushi chefs know the difference. Fresh wasabi has a complex aromatic heat that rises quickly and fades gently. Horseradish burns aggressively and lingers harshly. Chefs who care about authenticity will pay premium prices for fresh rhizomes. And here's something important. Wasabi takes 18 to 24 months to mature. So again, patience protects the market. Once established, staggered plantings allow continuous harvest, and every square foot under proper management generates dramatically more revenue than conventional row crops. Wasabi is a technical crop, but technical difficulty creates economic protection. Number 4, bamboo, the misunderstood opportunity. Bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. Certain species can grow over a foot per day under ideal conditions. But the opportunity isn't just in speed, it's in market diversity. Certain bamboo varieties sell for $15 to $30 per plant to landscapers and gardeners, and that's just for nursery stock. Then there are edible shoots, harvested in spring and sold to restaurants and Asian markets. Then there's timber-grade bamboo used in construction, flooring, fencing, and crafts. 3 markets, 1 plant. Here's what most people don't understand. Running bamboo spreads aggressively underground. That makes it invasive in unmanaged gardens. But in controlled production, with root barriers and containment systems, that aggressive growth becomes an advantage. Each season, established bamboo produces new shoots. Those shoots can be divided and potted as new plants, which means your inventory multiplies. A single mature stand can generate dozens of sellable divisions annually. Clumping varieties grow slower but are easier to manage. Running varieties grow faster but require containment. The profit isn't just in growing bamboo, it's in understanding which species serve which market. Landscapers want privacy screens. Homeowners want ornamental clumping varieties. Restaurants want fresh spring shoots. Builders want durable culms. Bamboo isn't just a crop, it's a product line. Number 5. Lavender, the brandable perennial. Lavender sells for $12 to $25 per pound dried, but that number only tells half the story. Lavender isn't just a raw product, it's a brand. Lavandula angustifolia is the preferred culinary and therapeutic species. It thrives in well-drained soil and full sun. Once established, it produces for years. Minimal irrigation, minimal fertilization, long lifespan. But here's where margins expand. Essential oil, hydrosol, sachets, bath products, culinary sugar blends, soap, candles. You're not just selling dried flowers, you're selling fragrance, relaxation, experience. A sachet that costs less than $1 to produce can retail for $5 to $10. That's where specialty agriculture separates from commodity farming. Commodity farmers sell bulk, specialty growers sell story. Consumers want locally grown, organic lavender. They want farm tours, photos, transparency. And small-scale growers can provide that authenticity in ways industrial farms cannot. Lavender proves something powerful. The crop itself may be simple, but value addition multiplies revenue. And now the list gets even more interesting. Because the next plants aren't just expensive, they move fast. They generate income weekly instead of yearly. They don't require 5 years of waiting. They require precision, consistency, and hustle. This is where specialty agriculture starts to look less like farming and more like systems management. Number 6. Microgreens, the 10-day cash cycle. Microgreens sell for $25 to $50 per pound to restaurants. But the real power isn't just the price, it's the speed. Most microgreens are harvested 7 to 14 days after planting. That means you can plant, grow, harvest, sell, and replant, all inside 2 weeks. You're not waiting on seasons. You're running production cycles, sunflower shoots, pea shoots, radish, broccoli, amaranth. These aren't full-grown vegetables, they're seedlings, harvested at peak flavor and nutrient density, often containing higher concentrations of certain nutrients than their mature counterparts. Chefs love them because they add color, texture, and intensity to plates instantly. A small handful can transform a dish visually and elevate flavor in seconds. And here's what makes microgreens dangerous in a good way. You don't need acreage, you need shelving, lights, trays, climate control. A small 10 by 10 indoor setup can produce steady weekly harvests if managed properly. Stack vertically, and your production per square foot increases dramatically. But there's a catch. Growing them is easy. Selling them consistently is the real skill. Restaurants don't want random availability. They want the same quantity, same quality every single week because their menu depends on it. If you can become reliable, you win. If you can't, they replace you. Microgreens reward discipline, scheduling, and relationship building as much as horticulture. Number 7. Gourmet mushrooms. The decomposer goldmine, shiitake, oyster, lion's mane, maitake. Fresh gourmet mushrooms often sell for $12 to $30 per pound. Unlike traditional crops, mushrooms don't grow in soil. They grow on substrate. Straw, sawdust, hardwood chips, even used coffee grounds collected from local cafes. You're not farming sunlight, you're farming biology. And because they grow indoors or in controlled environments, weather risk drops dramatically. You're not exposed to drought, hail, or late frosts. You're managing humidity, temperature, and airflow instead. A small grow room with proper sanitation and environmental control can produce weekly harvests year-round. Restaurants prefer local mushrooms because they're delicate and lose quality quickly during shipping. Caps bruise, texture declines, flavor fades. Freshness matters, and local growers have the edge. But mushrooms demand technical discipline. Contamination is real. Competing fungi can destroy batches if sterile techniques slips. Temperature and humidity must stay within tight ranges. This isn't casual gardening, it's controlled production. But once dialed in, it becomes predictable. And predictable weekly yield, especially in the restaurant world, is powerful. Number 8, edible flowers, the $40 per pound garnish, nasturtiums, calendula, violas, borage, dianthus. Edible flowers can sell for $30 to $40 per pound, sometimes more in direct chef sales. Why? Because they can't be shipped easily. They bruise, they wilt, they lose visual appeal fast, which means restaurants need local growers. A small bed of edible flowers can supply multiple restaurants weekly during season. And unlike bulk produce, chefs don't need pounds at a time. They need freshness, precision, beauty. A few trays delivered 2 or 3 times per week can maintain steady demand. They don't require huge space. They require timing and consistency, harvesting at peak bloom, handling gently, packaging carefully. The crop is small, the margin is large, and competition is usually low because most growers don't think about flowers as food. Number 9, specialty salad greens. The flavor upgrade. Commodity lettuce is cheap, but specialty greens are not. Baby arugula, mizuna, tatsoi, mustard greens, frise. When sold as chef mix or spring mix, these greens can command significantly higher prices than basic lettuce because they deliver stronger flavor and better texture. The advantage is freshness. Grocery store greens often sit in distribution chains for days, sometimes a week or more. Local growers can harvest in the morning and deliver by afternoon. That difference shows in crispness, shelf life, and taste. These crops grow quickly, often 30 to 45 days to harvest. Succession planting allows steady supply throughout the growing season. But like microgreens, consistency is everything. Restaurants build menus around dependable suppliers. Once you're in, you stay in, because replacing a reliable green supplier creates unnecessary risk for a kitchen. Number 10, fresh ginger, the overlooked opportunity. Most ginger in grocery stores is old. It's fibrous, dry, imported months earlier and stored in cold warehouses. Fresh young ginger is completely different. Tender skin, you don't even have to peel. Juicy texture, bright aroma that fills the room when cut, and chefs notice immediately. Fresh ginger can sell for more per pound than bulk imported ginger, especially in local markets where freshness is rare. It thrives in warm climates and can be grown in greenhouses or high tunnels in cooler regions. It takes around 8 to 10 months to mature fully, but young ginger can be harvested earlier for premium pricing. Farmers markets love it because customers are often surprised by the flavor difference. Restaurants love it because they can taste the difference in sauces, teas, and marinades. And unlike dried spices, fresh ginger creates a sensory experience that imports simply can't replicate. It's not flashy. It doesn't sound exotic. But positioned correctly, fresh, local, premium, it becomes a reliable, high-margin crop. Now we move into a different category entirely. These crops don't just sell because they taste good. They sell because people believe they do something. Energy, immunity, stress reduction, inflammation control, longevity. When a plant crosses over from culinary ingredient into functional territory, the economics shift. Because now you're not just competing with other farmers, you're supplying an industry, and the global supplement industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Most of that supply is imported, which creates a gap, and gaps are where opportunity lives. Number 11, ashwagandha, the stress-era crop. Ashwagandha root has become one of the fastest growing herbal supplements in the world. Capsules, powders, extracts, drink mixes, gummies, drink. It's marketed for stress support, cortisol balance, sleep improvement, and mental clarity. And here's the important part. Demand didn't spike randomly. It spiked because modern life became more stressful. When a crop ties directly to a social condition, like stress, it gains momentum. Most ashwagandha is still imported from India, but domestic growers in warm, dry climates can produce it successfully. The plant thrives in relatively poor soil. It doesn't need heavy fertilization. It's drought-tolerant once established. That means lower input costs compared to many vegetable crops. It matures in about 5 to 6 months. Harvest involves digging the roots, washing them carefully, slicing and drying under controlled conditions to preserve active compounds. Now here's where beginners misunderstand the opportunity. You're not trying to sell a bundle of fresh roots at a farmer's market. You're targeting processors. Companies that buy dried root by the pound, sometimes by the pallet. And those buyers care about 3 things: consistency, clean testing results, reliable supply. If you can provide that, you're not just a farmer. You're a supplier in a manufacturing chain. That's a different level of business. Number 12. Elderberries, the immunity engine. Elderberries exploded in popularity when immune support became part of everyday conversation. Syrups, tinctures, lozenges, gummies, capsules. They moved from herbal niche into mainstream grocery shelves. And here's what makes elderberry interesting. It's perennial. Plant it once, maintain it properly, harvest year after year. Shrubs begin producing meaningful yields within 2 to 3 years. Once mature, a well-managed planting can produce substantial fruit annually. Wholesale fresh berries may not seem dramatic on paper, but value-added processing changes the math completely. Elderberry syrup sold direct to consumer can multiply revenue per pound several times over. This is where branding becomes powerful. Consumers buying immune support products want trust. They want local sourcing. They want pesticide-free cultivation. They want to see the farm. That's something large import chains can't offer. And when trust enters the equation, pricing power increases. Number 13. Goji berries. Fresh beets imported. Goji berries are marketed as antioxidant-rich superfruits. But almost every goji berry you've ever seen was dried, and almost every dried goji berry was imported. Fresh goji berries are delicate. They bruise easily. They don't travel well, which means local growers have a structural advantage. The shrubs are hardy, tolerant of cold, and productive once established. They require pruning and maintenance, but they're not fragile. The real play isn't competing with imported dried product on price. It's offering something the import chain cannot offer: fresh, or freeze-dried in small batches, or sold directly to health-conscious consumers who want traceability. When a market is dominated by imports, freshness becomes a premium feature, and premium features create margin. Number 14. Turmeric, the golden root. Turmeric has quietly become one of the most recognized functional spices in the world. It's in smoothies, teas, supplement capsules, anti-inflammatory blends, golden milk powders. Its active compound, curcumin, is widely researched and heavily marketed. That research drives demand. Turmeric thrives in warm climates and grows similarly to ginger. It requires about 8 to 10 months to reach full maturity. The leaves die back when ready for harvest, signaling the digging phase. Like ginger, fresh turmeric has a brightness and aroma that dried powder can't replicate. Farmers' markets respond strongly to vibrant, fresh roots. But again, processing multiplies revenue. Dry it properly, grind it, package it, or sell to small supplement brands looking for domestic supply. When a plant transitions from kitchen spice to wellness ingredient, its ceiling rises. Turmeric made that transition years ago, and demand hasn't slowed. Number 15. Sea buckthorn, the quiet riser. Sea buckthorn isn't flashy. It doesn't have mainstream name recognition. But in the skincare and functional beverage industries, it's respected. The berries are bright orange and rich in nutrients. The oil extracted from them is used in cosmetic formulations and specialty supplements. The plant itself is hardy, extremely hardy. It tolerates poor soil, wind exposure, and even cold climates. That makes it viable on marginal land where other crops struggle. Now here's what's interesting economically. Sea buckthorn is not widely grown domestically in many regions, which means supply chains are thin, and thin supply chains mean opportunity for early entrants. The berries can be processed into juice, oil, powder, or sold fresh to niche buyers. It requires processing infrastructure or relationships with processors, but that's the theme of this entire section. These crops plug into industries. They're not impulse buys, they're components in finished products. And when you supply components, you're no longer just selling at a market stall. You're entering production chains. These plants don't pay you in 10 days. They don't even pay you in one season. They test your patience. But once established, they can produce for years, sometimes decades, and that changes the equation entirely. Number 16, truffles, the underground asset. Truffles are not planted like vegetables. They're not even planted like fruit trees. They're fungi that form symbiotic relationships with tree roots. Black truffles commonly sell for $300 to $800 per pound. White truffles can sell for significantly more depending on season and availability. Here's what makes them different. You don't grow truffles directly. You plant inoculated trees, typically oak or hazelnut, whose roots are infused with truffle spores. Then you wait. 5 to 7 years before meaningful production begins. That waiting period filters out almost everyone, which protects the market. Once production starts, orchards can yield annually for decades if managed properly. The soil must be right, often well drained with adequate calcium levels. The climate must align, and you need trained dogs to locate mature truffles underground without damaging them. This is not beginner farming, but it's asset farming. You're building a biological system that can generate high-value harvests long-term. Restaurants pay premium prices for fresh truffles because aroma degrades quickly after harvest. Local growers have a freshness advantage again. The difference is scale and patience. Number 17, vanilla, the greenhouse luxury crop. Vanilla is an orchid, and orchids are not easy. Vanilla planifolia requires warm temperatures, high humidity, shade, and structural support for climbing vines. In tropical regions, it grows naturally. In temperate regions, it requires greenhouse infrastructure. And here's the detail most people don't know. Vanilla flowers must be hand-pollinated. Every single one. And they open for only a brief window, sometimes just a single day. That labor intensity is part of why cured vanilla beans can sell for hundreds of dollars per pound. After harvest, the beans must be cured, a multi-step process involving sweating, drying, and conditioning over months. This isn't a quick crop. It can take 2 to 3 years before vines produce, but once established, a well-managed greenhouse operation can generate extremely high-value harvests from relatively small space. Vanilla proves something important. Difficult crops create barriers. Barriers create pricing power. Number 18. Hops, the brewer's dependency. Hops are the flowers that give beer bitterness and aroma. Craft breweries care deeply about hop character, and aroma compounds degrade over time. That's why local sourcing matters. Hops sell anywhere from $5 to $15 per pound, depending on variety and contract agreements. The plants are perennial. Once established, they can produce for 15 to 20 years. But they require vertical trellising. Vines can grow 15 to 20 feet in a season. Initial setup requires poles, wires, irrigation. Then comes harvest. Cones must be picked at peak lupulin development. Too early, flavor is weak. Too late, quality drops. The work is intense for a short window, but many growers lock in contracts with breweries before harvest even begins. That reduces risk dramatically. When you supply a brewery consistently, you become part of their product identity. And identity is sticky. Number 19. Bamboo shoots and timber. The regenerative machine. Bamboo is often misunderstood. It's either seen as invasive or decorative. But certain species produce edible shoots that can sell for $6 to $15 per pound fresh. Other species produce timber-grade culms used for construction, fencing, flooring, and crafts. Bamboo is perennial and fast-growing. Once established and properly contained, it regenerates annually without replanting. Shoots emerge in spring and must be harvested quickly while tender. After that, they become woody and shift into structural growth. The dual market, food and material, makes bamboo versatile. You can sell divisions to landscapers, harvest shoots for restaurants, or manage mature stands for building materials. It's not a one-dimensional crop, it's a system. Number 20. Black garlic. The multiplier play. Black garlic isn't grown differently, it's transformed. Fresh garlic bulbs are held at controlled heat and humidity for several weeks. Through this slow process, sugars caramelize, texture softens, and flavor becomes sweet, umami-rich, and complex. The result sells for significantly more per pound than raw garlic. This is the lesson. Sometimes profitability isn't about what you grow. It's about what you do after harvest. Garlic itself is relatively straightforward to cultivate. But when you control fermentation and presentation, you multiply its value. Restaurants love black garlic because it adds depth to sauces, spreads, and meat dishes. Specialty food stores stock it at premium prices. Value addition turns a basic crop into a luxury ingredient. Industrial agriculture wins with scale. Specialty agriculture wins with knowledge. And the growers who understand that shift are the ones quietly building real leverage. If you want more breakdowns like this, real numbers, real crops, real opportunities, hit subscribe, because the next video might show you the crop everyone overlooks before everyone else notices it.